Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chilling Neigh Podcast, your premier VGC podcast. My name is Rushil, aka Conkdonk. I'm joined by Sableye. What is up, man? How was Vancouver?
Vancouver, as always, absolutely beautiful city. I just wish it didn't rain the entire time. Like literally, it rained the entire time. I landed on Friday morning. It was raining, and the only time I saw the sun in Vancouver was as my Uber was pulling into the airport.
So tragic. That is so tragic. It's so beautiful too. Like the one I like 2 years ago when I went, it was stunning. I recommend to anyone who hasn't gone to visit, but that sucks. That's unfortunate. Well, it might have been raining outside, but it was also raining inside the convention center. You were bringing the rain. How'd you feel about your run? Congrats on top 16. For everyone who doesn't know, he Ryan got top 16 with Kyogre. He had a stream match, so definitely recommend go checking that out. But yeah, how did it feel? How'd it go? You kind of on a tear lately. How you been feeling?
This Kyogre guy sucks. No, no, I feel pretty good, right? And I'm just happy to have actually found a team in this format that actually kind of fits my playstyle. Because I was scared that I wasn't finding that for a bit. Obviously, the first Reg G, the first iteration, I didn't really find anything I liked. Nothing was really like, yeah, this is how I like to play the game. So finding that team that kind of just fits that playstyle has felt so much better, and I think it's shown in my play. Like I was saying, I believe it was the last pod. I was like, I don't really feel like I really regretted any major calls that I had to make. Same thing here. I mean, this one. I regret one play I made versus Joe. I got a little too caught up in the fact that he was gonna make a cycle play, and then just got caught by him getting aggressive. But you know what? That was a call that I had to make at some point, and I got it wrong. But overall, I don't know. It just feels like I have that team now, and I'm probably just gonna run it the rest of Reg G. Let's be real. I'm not going to anything else. So it's fun. Kyogre's fun having just getting to put people in like the instant Amoonguss Rillaboom blender with a Kyogre on the field, and then the other slots just like da 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 da, right? And it's like I don't know. It's fun. I don't know why it's so fun, but it is.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Like, I feel like a lot of people have, myself included, like struggled to find like the right team that fits for them, especially in this format where it's like it feels so. I mean, we're gonna talk about it in a second, where Lunala won the whole tournament and Hard Trick Room got second, which is insane. But like just finding your team in this format feels a little bit more difficult. I feel like unless you're running like Arubiga Miraidon, like that's the one that seems like all right, everyone who sticks on that just sticks on that. So like I guess what has worked for you in finding like a team that's like, oh, even like you've been playing this team now at two majors and I think you were testing a little bit beforehand too. So like how does it feel like going from, UIC to now Vancouver and still feeling like really solid with that team?
It's different, right? Because I'm not the type of guy like I'm the type of guy that like has like the main team, but I've never really stuck with a team for like as long as necessarily as this one. Obviously, I did back in the day in like the full year formats. You would do that, but being able to
Yeah.
kind of do that again and kind of replicate that feeling, obviously on a shorter time scale, it brings back something for me. And I don't know if it's just because I'm using Kyogre and I'm sitting there clicking the funny water move and it's really fun, or if it's just something to do with just a balanced way I play the game, and I'm able to slow this format down, and it's a pretty aggressive format, right? So anytime you're able to slow that down, and that's kind of where I like to play the game, that slower paced game. Like back in Reg H, that was huge for me as well. Loved that format. Just it felt like I was playing traditional Pokemon the way when I learned to play the game, the 2017 to 2018. That's the style of game I just enjoy playing. So I don't know, maybe this hard balance stuff like speaks to me. I don't know.
That makes sense. Did you feel like there's any like difference? I mean, like you went 9-3 both UIC and Vancouver, so I mean, exceptionally, like you played exceptionally. But do you feel like there was any difference in like how your team fell into the meta at those tournaments? You know what I'm saying, like,
Yeah,
UIC
I got you.
versus Vancouver.
20 times better felt way better at Europe, 100% of the time.
Really?
Europe, I think it's just based on the nature of their players. A lot of the European region is considered to be more balanced, and I would
Yeah,
much rather play balance into balance because
yeah,
I feel comfortable out balancing balance. Whereas I feel like on the West Coast in North America, you get a little bit more of that hyper aggressive, more offensive kind of like either hardcore trick room side spam like we saw win, or the just a more aggressive, like a couple Specs Terrapagos. I think that was Specs Terrapagos in top four as well, right? So you get a little bit more of those hyper aggressive teams, and it's a little bit more difficult to really like hone in and play the game the way I like to play it. So Europe just felt better. I don't think the team was any different of a call. I think the team itself was a great call into Europe, and it was also a great call into Vancouver. It just felt better for me going into Europe because I just probably maybe pulled more balanced players. I don't know. That's how I would look at
Yeah.
it.
Since it was like we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but it was like awesome to follow your run first because I was just like I was like a little bit busy this weekend, so I was trying to like follow it when I could and watch stream matches when I could and then catch up and um I saw like you were in cut and I was like, oh my god, this is insane. And then I was like, there's no way like Sempra was also doing super well and I was like, there's no way we're gonna about to get the run back of and he was like we were talking about this, there was a comment on our last video where it was like here before, because I'd been talking smack about Pagos, and I'm going to continue to talk smack about Pagos soon.
Yep. I will too.
Just FYI. He like Sepra was running Pagos, and he was like, "Oh, here before Sableye loses to finals to Pagos, and we would have had the run back of finals from 2 years ago, which would have been insane." And you guys both did super well. Sepra finishing ninth, and you finishing 12th. So I was curious, like, and did that cross your mind as you were kind of going through the
Oh yeah,
tournament?
yeah.
And,
I don't think about it during the tournament, but I saw the bracket go up because I actually got a buy into top 16. Same with Abdullah. So we were just kind of like chilling, hovering around, and I kind of saw him. He was over with Joe and a couple others, and I walked over. And I was looking at the bracket and I said, I'm not saying there's like script writers or anything, but if they're listening, we are on opposite sides of the bracket again. And like, that's all I said. Unfortunately, I did happen to jinx it and we both fell in top 16, but I guess I'll take the blame for that. Or, I can blame this guy, but that's besides the point. I chose to run him. That's on me.
Yeah, well, that would have been nuts, but well, congrats again on an insane run and kind of insane hot streak that you've been on. Super super awesome to see. Um, let's dive on it a little bit to the results of who won. So congrats to I hope I'm saying this correctly, Bezad, for winning with Lunala. That was out of nowhere. I mean, like you and I didn't even have it. Like I don't think we've even discussed
Nope.
Lunala once
Didn't bring it up. Not at all.
in any episode of like at all. Actually,
No,
in
at
any
all.
of our Reg G episodes, I don't think we've ever talked
Maybe
about
in
it.
like the first one, like when Reg G
Maybe,
first
yeah,
came out, and we were like, we probably
yeah,
brought it up at some point, and that was probably it.
yep, yep. So and then and then in finals, it was Lunala Spam with like Indeedee expanding four stuff, and then second place in finals was Hard Trick Room Spam with Hatterene, and then Cali Ice, Imprison Cali Ice, which was pretty cool. Like I played it in a GC and I thought it was more of a best of one thing, but clearly worked really well in best of three at this tournament. So, um, thoughts on? I mean, I feel like this is kind of a known thing where it's like West Coast regionals in North America are weird. Like they are not going to. The results from these regionals are usually way different than the results from any other like region anywhere. But like thoughts on Lunala, Spam moving forward, and what people should prep in going into Stockholm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's one of those ones where I don't actually see too much different in the team. Yes, there was Lunala. It's crazy, right? Don't get me wrong. No one had Lunala on their bingo card. But if I'm really quickly just looking at kind of that rest of that team, that's Roaring Moon, Ogre Pond Fire, Urshifu, Landorus. Those four were the exact four supporting cast on the Tang team as well with the Cali Ice, right? So clearly there's that new core of four now of a supporting cast, which I think is really, really cool, apart from the Lunala. Now, obviously, Lunala and the Indeedee on that team is very cool adaptation as well for the meta, and I just think no one was ready for it, right? Like, it's crazy to me that, like, Rillaboom was such a high usage mon, and then all of a sudden, like, Lunala and Indeedee just go crazy. Now, not that these guys can't beat Lunala, can't beat Rillaboom, but I feel like if they're not seeing Rillaboom, it would be a better time for them. So it's
Yeah.
surprising that Rillaboom's so high. I'm like, did they dodge them? Did they just outplay them? Which is obviously very possible as well, right? But that's kind of where I'm curious now. Does Rillaboom pick back up in usage? Because I know Amoonguss was rising a lot and Rillaboom was kind of falling. So now I wonder if that was maybe the meta call there with the Lunala and the other side spam team for that matter too as well. Just they start seeing that trend. They're like, Amoonguss is the better grass type right now. People are going to be bringing that. Let's take advantage.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because like for both teams in finals, like you don't like even like you said, like it's not like Rillaboom necessarily beats either team. Like Rillaboom doesn't match well into Cali Ice, right? And it's not that Lunala. I mean, it's Terra Water Lunala, but like it's not like Lunala necessarily is a bad matchup into Rillaboom. But like you obviously want the terrain or the expanding force stuff and to block priority. And I mean there was five, if I'm counting correctly, five Rillabooms in top cut out of 24 teams, which is not like nothing. It's still like over 20%, but it's still not an overwhelming amount of Rillabooms. And like you were saying, I think like there was it had been falling off a little bit, so it's Rillaboom's never gonna fall off. It's just too good of a mon, but it was like I feel like Rillaboom, Incin, even sometimes the types of Urshifu, have like these waves of one tournament's like insane usage and other ones are it's just like moderate usage, and I think they were probably able to I mean when you play a team like that you have to know how to play into Rillaboom really well, right? I mean we see looking at the usage stats there's 29 like about 30% usage in day 2 is Rillaboom, 25% in day 1, but Amoonguss was definitely like the superior grass type, 41% usage in day 2, and 60% usage Urshifu, holy, that's insane.
That's not
But you
okay.
definitely gotta know that's insane. Where's Incin at? I gotta see. Incin's I feel like normally at like 36%. Yeah,
Yeah, he
man.
was up there, but
Urshifu,
not anywhere close to as high.
yeah, Urshifu's insane. Oh my god. Breaking news, right?
Yeah.
But it's I mean, well, see, the funny thing is, Urshifu being high, size spam food, right? Like, and Terra Water Lunala was a great call there, and I think it's a really cool team. Like you said, no one was ready for it, and that's something that I've heard a lot of, really good players play like say that like and something that Wolf does all the time, right?
Yeah,
Wolf brings like an
absolutely.
insane team that no one has prepped for, and but you know your lines into everyone else. So the more you know into like your matchup into opposing player, and they don't know their matchup into you, right? You got that advantage before you even start a set, right? And so it was really cool to see. I love Lunala. Personally, I think it's such a cool mon. I was not expecting it to do even close to well until double restricted. I thought it
Hmm.
could be a cool like it's a usually a better like support restricted than it is like a primary one. But it was super cool to see. That being said, do I think we're gonna see Lunala get close to a win again? I would be equally as shocked to be not equally as shocked, but I would still be very shocked if, especially in Stockholm. Like you said, EU is very balance pilled, and I do not see either side spam team. I mean, there are some dedicated hard trick room players there, but I just don't see it doing nearly this well. But it was this whole tournament was pretty weird, and we can get on into like what else did well. I mean, there was Zacian that did
Yep.
really well. Specs Pagos got top four. I was a little nervous because I've been bashing Pagos, and there was a lot of players that like Sempra, and I think there was some other Raghav like brought like this very common, not common, but this like build of Pagos that had been doing really well lately, and it had won the
VR.
CP area like version of the or category of the global challenge.
Yep.
I think Marco had used
Yep.
it to win. Um, so thoughts on like I guess what was your experience there in terms of like what people were talking about, and then also like thoughts on Pagos, because I'm always ready to bash it, but your thoughts on Pagos, like seeing it and maybe playing some. I don't know if you ended up playing any, but
No, I played a couple. Um,
yeah,
I still think it's a bad mon. I'm gonna be honest. I still don't think it's worth your restricted slot right now. That
yeah,
opinion might change. But then again, I also discredited Lunala, and here we are. So just keep in
yeah,
mind, if you guys are Terrapagos believers, please by all means keep running Terrapagos. Um, I just think you're working harder than you need to, right? And And I think that's proven by the fact that when I'm playing these Terrapagos teams, I'm not really scared of the Terrapagos itself. I'm scared of the rest of the team, right?
Yeah.
So like the Alex team in top four here is actually interesting because it actually is Specs Terrapagos, and I think those are really the only Terrapagos I'm actually like scared of immediately. The rest of it I'm not
Yeah.
really like that scared of. But like then you get that traditional, that setup one with like the rock pawn and the Heatran and what you normally see with a Screamtail.
Yep.
Those are the pieces I'm scared of. I'm scared of, the Encore Disable trap from the Screamtail.
Yep.
I'm scared of, the instant Rillaboom cycle while I'm trying to get out of that Encore Encore Disable, right? And then all of a sudden you got a Magma Storm Heatran for those Zamazenta guys, right? To me, it's those pieces that are scary and not necessarily that Terrapagos per se. Doesn't necessarily mean the Mon is never going to win. I just frankly think you're working harder than you need to just to try to make your restricted work. But that's just me.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. I am looking through here. So the other thing that we kind of talked about, and looking back at our last episode, some of the predictions we made. So you had predicted Cali Ice to kind of come on top and was very close
Very
to
close.
winning. Not the way that you would
No,
expected
definitely
Cali Ice
not.
to win, but got super close on that. And then I had predicted one of two, which was Joe winning with Screens Maridon, which he had a really hot start and finished 10th. So didn't quite get close enough, but really, really good run from him. And then also Cali Shadow, which I feel like now every other we have like a Cali Shadow fraud check. But
It's not a fraud. It's still
I
there.
it's I mean
It got 5th, 7th,
we're
and 11th. You can't call that fraudulent.
no, definitely no, definitely not. But when do you think we're gonna see like we've seen now Crydon, we've seen Lunala in regionals, we like Reg G 2.0. It just feels like it feels like a lot of people have put a lot of effort into building Cali Shadow super well, and it just feels like it still is not quite getting over that hump. I feel like do you think that changes in Stockholm, or do you think it continues to just be like forever the bridesmaid, never the bride? You know,
Uh,
like
I'm gonna make the bold call now because I know we're probably gonna get into bold predictions later, but I'm not gonna waste any time. Uh,
yeah,
Cali Shadow wins Stockholm.
yeah. I feel like it's too man. It
It's
feels like
been
it's just it's too good not to. You know,
it's
like it's
throwing
too
it's
good.
throwing it has thrown too many darts at the board not to hit that
Yeah,
bullseye. Like it's going to hit it eventually.
yep,
There are enough good players that are running this thing. It is a good mon in itself. It is 100% going to break that spot and get that first eventually. There's no doubt in my mind.
yeah. I agree. I'm like curious because I mean we still have what is it? It's March now. We still have another like 2 months of Reg G. And so this is a little premature, but I'm curious because there's already been rumbling of like people looking ahead and looking towards double restricted. Curious because I think once double restricted comes around, Cali Shadow is gonna be nuts. Like I just think it's gonna be not unstoppable because that's a stretch, but it's going to be like winning tournaments left and right.
Absolutely.
Where do you see like the top like from do you see any takeaways from like what's happening kind of now and looking ahead? I'm like, all right, this is like something I wouldn't have expected going into, regulation I if it ends up being like do you think that you see any takeaways from like maybe some surprises of like everyone knows Zamazenta is going to be a S tier, support restricted, but do you see anything where it's like, okay, you know what, actually Lunala could be a like focus restricted or you know what, or Kali I or Pagos is gonna be good and double restricted. Maybe it's getting close, but it's just not format for it. Like, what are your kind of perspective on that?
I think what we're gonna see is just a lot of the top restricteds get better, and it's
Yeah,
there's no hiding the fact that the good restricteds now are still just going to be good. If your restricted is running well in single restricted, your restricted will run just as well, if not better, in a double because you'll be able to find that other restricted that, really gels and really flows with that Pokemon itself. And that's always going to be a boost to the good ones. However, that also boosts some of those Pokemon that are on like that medium line. Everybody was trying to make that Groudon work. I remember that spot in the metagame. Koraidon still wants to be there. I know it did win the Latin American regional this past weekend as well, so that was kind of cute to see.
Oh dang, yeah.
But I think it actually went undefeated, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know they did go undefeated. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty nuts.
So that right, it's kind of now breaking out. We're seeing how that develops now. But now you're getting these other restricteds like the Lunala. Obviously, it just got its son. All these Pokemon I'm trying to point out that are going to get better in double are seemingly just getting better in single too. So I guess what do I know? But instead of just being like, wow, Lunala was nowhere, I think we're going to start seeing it more and more. Same with like that Koraidon. We're just going to see these Pokemon and these kind of on the fringe restricteds just be that much better because you're not wasting your only slot on them. Right? That was my big issue. Right? For me to run Koraidon. Yeah, Koraidon's a pretty good Pokemon. I dedicated a lot of the first Reg G to it, and I thought it was very good. I saw a lot of potential, but it just felt like it was always missing something because unlike, the Miraidon, the Calorexes, it wasn't inherently broken, right? Those guys, they're broken, you know?
Yeah.
But now that I can have the one of the broken guys and maybe this Koraidon, right? Now this Koraidon becomes better. And all of a sudden, like the whole core itself works together. I think Koraidon CSR is definitely something I'm intrigued at trying. I think it actually pairs up really, really nicely, especially with the uprising and what's probably going to be a lot of Zamazenta early on. I think Koraidon
Yeah.
CSR might be something I'm looking at moving forward, depending on obviously. This is assuming we even get double restricted in Reg I, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get it at some point, but I don't know when.
Okay, so this is a like hard transition to something that is not what we were just talking about, but we haven't talked about it yet, and I am curious on your thoughts. Pokemon Champions, the new simulator that was released. I'm curious, like, how excited, not excited are you for that? Because I realized just now we haven't talked about it, and I want to talk about it.
I am surprisingly not that excited. I think it's
Why
hype.
is that?
I think the concept of the game has a lot of potential. I'm very curious to see as to where this game actually is headed because we don't know, right? All we saw was a couple Pokemon battling, right? We really don't know the full extent of this game. And
Yeah.
I'm a little reluctant to see because I don't think we're gonna get like what everybody's hyping it up to be. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, it's gonna basically be like, oh, it's showdown for the Switch. Oh, it's gonna be so good. We're gonna use it in official competitions. None of that has been stated anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for all we know, this is gonna be the VDC equivalent of TCG Pocket, and obviously Pocket is hitting it off and Pocket's blowing up. It's having a great run, right? And I think
Yeah.
we're gonna get something along the lines of like a kind of like a battle revolution or like something like that with a simulator sort of aspect. But I don't think they're ever gonna just go ahead and say, yeah, modify these EVs and here you go.
Yeah.
And even
It's
if we did do
I'm
that, I don't know if I'd enjoy it. That might be a hot take.
wait.
Go speak
Interesting.
your
Okay.
speak your point, but I haven't.
All
I
right.
want to finish this point off after. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
'cause I want to hear more about that. But okay, I think like it's all speculation at this point. Like all we saw was a Dondozo, Terra Water Dondozo fighting a Mega Charizard Y, which was really cool to see. First of all, if like Terra and Mega, I think in the same format are gonna be chaotic is the to say the least, but it could be really fun. The reason I brought this up, like kind of mid our other conversation, was because I feel like there's a chance that because we have no new announcement of what the Gen 10 game is going to be, like, and so we're foreseeable future still on Scarlet and Violet, and we have this worlds and next worlds, which are probably going to both be at least not on Gen 10. So there's a chance maybe that we have one of the worlds on Pokemon Champions. I don't know. That could be a thing. Um, And so I'm curious, like, I think it could be fun, but I also think like we don't know what it's gonna be. We don't know kind of how that's gonna be, and so we don't know if Reg I is gonna be happening right now when and if that's gonna be this Worlds, if the next Worlds might be Pokemon Champions, and it just has like this chaotic of all right, here's here's Terras, here's Megas, start with all this like a bunch of new capabilities and a bunch of new mons or new forms, and I think it's gonna be really interesting and chaotic. So I don't even know how much time we'll even have with double restricteds. Maybe we'll just have it for the whole time, and Pokemon Champions is just the side thing that never really gets into the mainstream. I don't know, but I'm curious on people's thoughts on it because
Yeah, no,
I
absolutely.
personally am excited tentatively. Like there's not a lot we've seen to get excited about, but like what we have seen is cool conceptually, in theory at least.
Yeah, no, I like the concept of it. My big issue though for me, it's like I don't know. I play this game because I genuinely love Pokemon, right? And I think that goes to be said for a lot of the competitors. Like I just love playing Pokemon, and obviously you get burnt out at times, but at the end of the day, I'm out here. I'm clicking fun moves with my Kyogre. It's a fun time, right? And I've been saying this a lot recently. It's like if I'm not having fun anymore, what's the point, right? It's like no matter how hard, no matter how much I'm trying for Worlds, I don't know if a battle simulator type game, as if we just shift to that, is going to be as enjoyable for me. I like the whole, oh yeah, I'm playing Pokemon aspect. As
Yeah.
cool as it would be to just snap my fingers effectively and have my Mon, or have all six of my entire team ready and just walk into the regional and just get my team the morning of and just be like, boom, right? And I have it. As cool as that would be, as awesome as that would be, if it was just a whole separate game dedicated to that, I don't know. I don't think I would like be as attached to the game as I am right now.
I think like that's fair. I think a lot of the attachment to Pokemon for most players, I think, is the nostalgia of growing up with it, playing like the actual games, and then getting into the competitive scene. And so, I think for me, my life now, it's less about like playing the mainline game and more about like okay, like what's like just the competitive aspect of it. But I still do like when the new game comes out, like whenever it comes out, like when Scarlet and Violet came out, I enjoyed playing through the game. I like always have a good time, and you have a little like you have an attachment. Like there's definitely a difference. I feel like for people who play on like Pokemon Showdown versus like on whenever I switch from Pokemon Showdown to Cart Ladder and I see the like Mon sprites like in game and stuff like that, I feel like it's always like increases the experience for me. It's always better experience. So I hope they do it well. I'm curious how it turns out, but yeah, definitely wanted to talk about it a little bit,
No,
see
absolutely.
get your thoughts. Um, all right, and then like, all right, this is also another shifting gears, but like, I just thought of this too, and I'm curious on your thoughts because especially because you've been like on a hot streak and doing well in Reg G, but like, how where would you? This is gonna go down a whole nother rabbit hole, so I hope you're ready. But where would you rank now that we've kind of gone through pretty much every Violet format for a considerable amount of time? What would you say is like at least your top three and maybe like bottom one or two?
What do you mean in terms of what? Like,
Enjoyability, like playing just any sort of experience within playing the format. So we've had regulation or series one and two, obviously. So series one was just like regional decks. Series two, we had the paradox. Um, Reg C, we had
oh, we're
or when
ranking.
we had
You're talking ranking
Lunala,
formats.
ranking formats. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Then we had
That's
one
simple then.
regulation D. Huh?
That's simple. That's
Was that?
easy.
Oh, simple. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna go through them real quick so that everyone remembers, and
Yep.
then I want to hear your answer. So then we had Regulation D, which was like Urshifu, Incin, Rilla comeback, and we had that for Worlds and like one other tournament post, I think. Then Reg E, Ogerpon forms. Um, Reg F, we had like Raging Bull, like legendaries basically. And then Reg and then we had Reg G. And then Reg H. Reg G was restricted and single restricted, and Reg H back to no restricteds, no legendaries basically. And basically Sneasler just dominating the format, and then back to Reg G. So yeah, what's like your top three versus, and then like
Yeah.
maybe bottom one or two.
Very very simple answer for me, okay? And honestly, there's a little bias included, of course. Um, but just to keep in mind, guys, like I know a lot of the time, it always sounds like, oh, you're trashing formats, but like my true perspective when it comes to like ranking formats is I try to rank them during the time that I was playing them, right? Because man, I look back on something like a Regulation B and I'm like, yeah, that was amazing. Obviously I got second at a regional in Regulation B, so obviously a little biased there, right? But every format is gonna have its ups, it's gonna have its downs. Like, and I think it was Joe who put out a tweet a while back actually, and he said something along the lines of just like playing Pokemon and enjoying what each new format gives us rather than just like starting to trash stuff. And like that's really what I'm trying to get at here because I like really believe that should be the case. And like
Yep.
that I think is one of the reasons honestly why Joe is always so successful because he looks at a
Yep.
format and he doesn't go like, yeah, this format sucks. He might not like the format, he might not agree with it or all the gimmicks or whatever's going on in it, but he's always going to be looking for it and trying to appreciate the value at what it is and then trying to find a way to solve that for what it is and rather than just complaining about it, right? And I think that's a really healthy mentality. But to answer your question exactly here, it's reg B, reg B, reg H, reg F, and then the bottom one is gonna be Reg G. No disrespect to Reg G, but I think we've just been in it too long, and going back a second time has not helped its case. Reg D was probably down there as well. I think we just got thrown into the fire with that one, having to play it right into Worlds as the first big tournament. That's just not fair to anybody, and I think that definitely kind
Yeah.
of hurt my viewpoint of it. But I definitely think B, H, and uh, F are up there for me.
Yeah, that makes
What about
sense.
you?
I think so. I think I look at it two ways. One is more like I think object. I don't know if objective is the right word, but like separate from my performances, and then like biased with my
Yeah, of
performances.
course.
And so like I see the thing is I liked Reg C until like the NAIC meta. Like I didn't, and then like I, but that was like, or like I didn't even like the meta really at Milwaukee, when I actually had my best performance. But like I was having fun with my team, so I like Reg C just for that, and like I liked early Reg C too. But I would probably agree. Like I loved Reg H. I'm sad I didn't actually get to compete like fully in Reg H, but like I thought it was such a fun format. Um, and I liked Reg B a lot too, and I liked probably Reg C. Reg Regulation D, the only reason I liked it is because I had like a ridiculous Bruxish team that I loved using and brought to Worlds, and that will have a soft spot in my heart.
Yep.
And overall, I think it was an insane decision also to just like throw everyone into a new format at Worlds, but it was funny, so I enjoyed it. But I think yeah, bottom format would probably be like so Reg G, and then probably I don't know, like Series One was a little like too like this is funny coming from a Dozo player, I guess, but at the time I was not, and I hated Dozo during Series One. But Series One was like extremely Dozo dominated, and so I wasn't having a good time not playing Dozo at that point. So I didn't love Series One that much, but I think what Reg G is interesting because it's like we've come back to it, and I think it has more diversity this second time around. I think it's also like getting to the point of a little bit of like the fatigue of playing. You kind of have to find a team that you really are enjoying, and like you said, like, and there's another tweet from like I forget who, but like gaslighting yourself into liking a format basically
Yeah.
is like kind of important to do well because like if you're not having fun time playing, then you're not gonna really like be bringing your best. And so like I do think it's important to find ways to make the formats fun and so like I have been like exploring different teams, but um, that's what I was saying. Like that's why I start like kind of full circle to the beginning of the episode. Like I think it's super cool that like you found a team that like you've really been enjoying using and been doing well with, and like I'm, still, I mean, not that I'm like competing right now, but like even casually, like I haven't been able to really find something that I'm like, all right, this is like a solid team that I've really been enjoying. So I am hopeful that like everyone else is able to kind of find that, especially in the next, we still have like 2 months to go of Reg G, and kind of find what fits well for them. Um, Okay, cool. Let's give a last like okay, so you kind of gave a bold prediction already, but let's like give any last bold predictions
I
for Stockholm.
I don't think I
So
can give
you
a I
predicted
don't think I can give a
Calistro.
bolder one than what I did earlier. But
Yeah,
just to
Calistro
reiterate, because
winning.
I know those people that are gonna just skip around to the end and be like, "Oh, Ryan didn't give a bolder prediction." No, I did. It was CSR is winning Stockholm, and I'll put that
Yeah,
bold prediction out there. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do think there's a shot. So
I'm going to. I think I'm gonna say Maridon wins. I'm gonna like. I think
lame. No.
we're. It's gonna be another situation. It is lame, but you know what? It's gonna be like everyone. It hasn't won since the first tournament, right? Or okay, it's won a couple like of the smaller majors, but it has won stuff. But I think it's just gonna be another situation where EU is gonna be like playing a bunch of. It's gonna be. I'm gonna hate to see it, but it's gonna be like the Pagos. I feel like it's gonna be this Pagos Heatran team is still gonna be like quite prevalent, especially in EU because they like Pagos.
They do.
And so I think we're gonna see that. And I think it's gonna be one of Pagos's maybe better tournaments because there's gonna be a higher volume of players playing it. But I think we're gonna see Arbega Maridon, some version of it, end up winning. It just feels like it's especially strong in EU. Also, last thing before we drop off, but like there's no Zama still, like just like anywhere. Like there was two in top cut that got like 20th and 21st, but
Yep.
just no Zama anywhere. So maybe Michael Kelsch ends up pulling up a Zama and winning with it. We'll see. But
You're still a believer, eh?
but I
You're
feel like
still
I've
a
been at
believer.
every tournament and it hasn't happened yet. So let's see.
Bro, we keep calling this Zemazenta resurgence. I really do think it might be done for a little bit. Like
Yeah, me too, me too.
I
Like the
just
only
think
reason I think it could win is because of Michael Kels. That's it. Like
that you know what,
otherwise,
that
I
is
don't think.
fair. I don't know. The way I look at it, and I said this on the last episode too, I believe, and it's just the way you're supporting Zamazenta right now, and the way Zamazenta likes to play has gotten linear, and it's very easy to now to counter. Like there's no real crazy different Zamazenta teams that I've seen, right? Like Europe was the
Yeah,
closest we got. We had Rafe with the Tinglu Dondozo, and then the Zamazenta, right? That was really the biggest mix-up we had. I mean, the one here was actually pretty cool in 20th place, right, with the Tinglu Screamtail. Kind of once again a little different of a take, and you do see that one prevailing here, and then even the one below that, Pelipper, right? So are these Zamazentas? Is this the way Zamazenta's looking at, right? Because like there is gonna have to be that adaptation for it to do well now, I think, because that traditional Zamazenta style just seems a little outdated right now, and seems a little like fairly easier to counter. So I'm curious to see if something like one of these adaptations we see here or a different adaptation does come out for it. But like as of right now, I'm not seeing it. Sorry, Zam believers.
yeah. Well, I agree. Well, that's probably gonna be it for us today. Stockholm coming up in 2 weeks, so we'll probably be back after that to recap. But thank you as always for
But you don't want to
listening,
wait. You don't
and
want to do
excited.
the you don't want to do the GC preview in 2 weeks.
Wait, do we? Wait, when's the next GC?
The
Actually,
March 20th weekend or whatever that weekend is.
oh man. Well, I mean, here's your preview. Dondozo might win again. I'm gonna be the one using it. Let's see.
Oh no.
I I'm gonna test every Dondozo form there is for every GC, and one of them I'll do well. Um, well, all right.
Time
Thank
to
you as always for listening, and we'll catch you after Stockholm.
yeah. See you guys.